morning, and thank you for joining us for Live Impact News. My name is Eugene Daniel. It is 10:01 this morning. We are in our streaming studio here at 13 News Now in Hampton Roads, Virginia. I am joined by producer Sarah Calloway as she waves, and meteorologist Taylor Stephenson as she also waves. Now, Taylor and I are sharing wavelengths right now, similar thought processes. We do not like cold weather, and if you are in our region right now, it is not warm at all. People are going to need that coat before they head out the door today, Taylor.
Yeah, it's cold in here too. I'm over here shivering. It's cold. It's cold everywhere. I'm not going in front. It's cold everywhere, even in our studio right now. Right now it is a big drop since we were here this time yesterday. Yesterday morning, when I was here on Live Impact News with you, Eugene and Sarah, it was in the 60s. And now we're about 25 to 35 degrees colder than yesterday. And it's all part of this really powerful front that moved through Hampton Roads in northeastern North Carolina just yesterday. But this was a big front. It actually moved through the midsection of the country and the Midwest before even making it to our direction, where there was lots of snow. There were also tornadoes, big temperature drops. This cold front is giving more of a fall feel, really, because of how strong it was moving through the area. So temperatures again have dropped at least 25 degrees. I'm tracking a very sunny and chill day for today, and that chill remains in place as we get into your New Year's Eve and your New Year's Day. Unfortunately, for people like the Deep South, people like me and Eugene, warmth will be nowhere to be found over the course of the next 5 to 6 days. We may have to wait until the first full week of January to finally see near or above normal temperatures. So it's going to be a cold end to 2025, a cold start to 2026 with at least a lot of sunshine. Right now, from your Thompson Creek Window Company sky view, there's a lot of sunshine going on now. It's just not being able to crack through that really cold air at the surface. Temperatures around the region in the lower to middle 30s, so hovering right at or just above freezing. That is in those numbers in the darker blue box. In the light blue box, that is the feels like temperature or the wind chill. That's how it feels to your body. So right now, feeling more like the mid to upper 20s. Very chilly conditions for us ongoing here, and conditions really won't improve much. Here's a look at our satellite and radar, and you can see that it's a very quiet scene area wide in through most of the mid-Atlantic into the deep south. Our cold front is well offshore, and I'm going to point it out here. You can see here the Outer Banks on your left and the cold front there off to your right. And that cold front now dissipating, but that's what brought us a cooler change in temperatures. So here's a look at your futurecast over the coming hours. You'll see temperatures will rise a couple degrees to the upper 30s, and we'll still have some winds up to about 20 miles per hour. Futurecast for the rest of the day shows that temperatures may only climb a couple degrees between lunchtime and the middle of the afternoon, with highs at best in the lower 40s. We may see some upper 40s in the mix, upper 30s in the mix inland, but that's as best as we'll do today. Later on tonight, around 7:45 to 8 p.m., temperatures drop back off to near freezing. At least skies stay clear. But here's a look at the wind chill over the course of the day today. Here we are at about 10 a.m., feeling more like 27 degrees. And by the time we get to the heart of the day, where it's the, quote, warmest, it's going to feel more like freezing. So definitely make sure that you are bundled up here across the area, because not only is it cold today, but it will be cold again tomorrow, and cold again on New Year's Day, and cold again the day after, and cold again the day after. Now, for your marine forecast, for those who may have to be out on your boats, I know we have a lot of people who rely on the marine forecast for their occupations. So last night we were underneath a gale warning. Today that has been reduced to small craft advisories. So small craft advisories are in effect for the bay and the ocean. That's going to linger until this evening. We'll have west winds and northwest winds 15 to 25 knots, gusts as high as about 30, but those winds will back off during the afternoon and evening, and eventually those small craft advisories by this evening will be dropped. Today, low tide is about an hour away at 11:25 a.m. with high tide just after 5 p.m. So, still some choppy waters, especially in the Atlantic, where we could see some seas up to about 9 feet this morning. Now, for New Year's Eve, be prepared for a cold night. Anywhere between about 11 p.m. on New Year's Eve to 1 a.m. on New Year's Day, we're going to see temperatures in the upper 30s. And thankfully, we'll be dry. So if you're heading out to any fireworks shows or you're doing any outdoor celebrations, it will be dry. So no concerns about any postponements or cancellations. But you will need to bundle up because temperatures will be hovering just above freezing for the majority of the Commonwealth and down into northeastern North Carolina as well. Chilly days for us, and those continue as we get into the next 7 days. Highs for your New Year's Eve and New Year's Day will be in the mid 40s. We'll warm up possibly to the upper 40s, nearing 50 degrees by Friday. But our next cold front comes this weekend. That's going to bring us a chance for some scattered showers on Saturday, and then temperatures behind that front cool down to the lower to middle 40s. On Monday, that might be our first chance to see near normal temperatures, but I'm watching for the potential of some morning precipitation possibly. Of course, things can change as that's about 7 days out from now, but I guess all eyes on the forecast for what's to come for New Year's Eve night, Eugene.
You know, you were talking about, obviously New Year's Eve, and I always think about my own experiences with New Year's Eve. I've had a lot of them where they've been outdoors. We got a great opportunity for people to go out on the last night of the town in Virginia Beach. We got Marta Berglund, our own, who's going to be emceeing that. Again, for those who are going to be closer to the water, because typically I know, right, is it usually colder inland or colder closer to the water? I always get that mixed up.
So at night, usually it's warmer closer to the water.
Okay.
And then sometimes it can flip during the afternoon. So colder closer to the water sometimes during the afternoon. But that all depends on really wind direction. But a lot of times it's going to be warmer at night when you're closer to the water, colder during the day when you're closer to the water.
Okay.
So at night it will be a bit warmer. Inland they're going to be closer to freezing for New Year's Eve night. So it's going to be a cold night tomorrow night. I keep thinking like New Year's Eve is some far away date, and it's literally tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
So tomorrow night is going to be a very cold night here.
All right, so you hear it from Taylor there. You're packing your outfits, whatever you're going to do. You know, a lot of people like to wear the sparkles, what do they call that? When it glistens? Sequins.
Oh, yeah.
Sequins. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the blacks and the silvers and the white. Do people wear white for New Year's Eve?
I don't think so. I don't think usually it's silver and black.
Okay.
Or gold.
Mm-hmm. A lot of gold. Okay, you can wear all that. But if you're going to be outside at all, you need to be prepared.
Yeah,
and don't say that we didn't tell you.
Yeah, please. I want to hear, I didn't know the forecast. That's one of the most annoying things I ever hear. It's like, no one predicted this.
Say it
no
with
one
your
said
chest.
This. Yeah, say it with me. Yeah, no one predicted this. This came out of nowhere. I'm going to say I dislike. I very much dislike when people say that because then I'm sitting there like, so am I chopped liver or... So yeah, don't tell us that we didn't warn you because we warned you multiple times.
Yeah, for sure. And I was just talking about Marta Berglund. Let's go ahead and cue that up real quick so people can see the lovely graphic that they have put together showcasing our own Marta B, as I call her, who is going to be the MC of the last night on the town in Virginia Beach on New Year's Eve. You can catch her and all the fun at Town Center of Virginia Beach starting at 6 p.m. You see it there. You can read it for yourself. It is going to be featuring the band Perry with special guest Ripe and MC Marta. I'm excited to kind of see Marta as an MC ringing in the new year. What kind of energy do y'all think she's going to bring? We know Marta behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people get to see her as traffic anchor when she's in her mold and when she's behind the desk and all of that kind of stuff. But let me tell you, Marta is funny.
She is. She has very dry humor, which I love.
Yes.
Which I love. But sometimes, you know how dry humor goes. I feel like I get it. I love dry humor, like shows like The Office, stuff like that is like my jam. So I think that she's gonna hit us with some dry humor.
Yeah,
and I think the adults will appreciate it.
Yeah, Marta's a good time, man, and so I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it there. Again, 6 o'clock is going to be the kickoff of all of that. And as you just heard from Taylor, you want to wrap up. Make sure that you're going to be warm when you're going to be out there. No sense in partying and being cold.
Right. I mean, you could. I've done it before, but it's not
preferred.
ideal. Not ideal. And especially in these kind of conditions, I mean, you don't want like your extremities being exposed, just because those start to lose a lot of feeling and a lot of heat much quicker. So yeah, gloves, some proper shoes. Ladies in those heels, wear closed-toed heels, please. Please don't have your toes out, because that will get cold very easy.
Listen, might be a boots type of day. That's just me. All right. That's just me. But you were talking about with the conditions. One condition that I have at this stage is I'm not young anymore. So with that, I can't be out there with that cold weather because my bones I can't have fun. I cannot have fun when I'm cold anymore. I used to live through it. Mm-hmm. It would be, whatever it is. I'm out here with the people. I'm in the elements. We vibing. We living. Now it has the circumstances need to be right. Or I can't even have fun.
Was I talking about it with you or Connor about, New Year's Eve in Times Square and how it seems like a fun thing to do, but I just now
we were talking about
it. Oh, I didn't hear the story.
Oh, we were talking about it.
I think when I was younger, I always thought it would be cool to go to Times Square and spend New Year's Eve there, and now it's I think about it, huge crowds.
It's a huge crowd
cold,
for me.
You're out there for hours. I don't know the logistics, but now I'm I don't know if I would have it in me to be able to go.
No, the only thing I feel like that's appealing to me during this time of year in New York would just to be the tree at Rockefeller Center. That's all I want to see is that huge tree. That's about it. The crowd scares me. I don't want to be up on. I don't know. I'm not claustrophobic, but I don't like when people get too close to me. Back it up. I need a little bit of space. It's a bubble that I have. And I just feel like there's just too many people. Then I feel like chaos can come easily when you have that many people. So I'm already thinking 3 or 4 steps ahead, Yeah. And it's dirty. People are throwing trash everywhere. No, I'm good.
But that's not the vibe that we're thinking of when it comes to Town Center of Virginia Beach. So that's going to be cool.
No,
Martha's going to keep a tight ship over there.
Oh, yeah.
All right, you're going to have fun. You're going to be warm.
And the band Perry, that is a big headliner.
Yeah.
That's a big headliner for sure.
I wonder if Martha's going to sing.
I don't know. We should ask her.
Yeah, that's something I want to see. That's the way. Matter of fact, I'm going to put in a request because that way, that will help me ring in the new year. If Martha will sing with the band Perry and get up there and vibe.
Any New Year's plans for you two?
Sarah? I think Sarah's going to be, we're both working on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And so you were saying that your plan is really your husband's plan.
Yeah, well, we have friends coming into town who are staying with us. And
nice.
They're doing something,
and
I'll be at work. And then whenever I'm done with work, I will go join them.
Yeah, and I have not made a single plan. I do not know. So I'm either going to be spontaneous or in the bed. I don't know. I don't know. Many years I would do watch nights. And some years the nights watch me, if you know what I mean. While I'm sleeping. In other years I've been out in these lovely establishment streets. So I don't know what I'm going to do this year, but we'll figure out something because I'm really excited for 2026 to come. Really more excited for 2025 to go, but really excited for 2026 to come through. Speaking of coming and going, Taylor, before you head out, because I know you got to get ready for the next show, is there anything else that we need to keep in mind as we wrap up this new year when it comes to the forecast?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I just will say there is something super fun that's happening with NASA. You can actually put your name, and it can be on an SD card on their next mission to the moon in April.
Oh, wow.
So go to NASA's website, and you can add your name to the list. There's already 1 million people whose names are on the list. You can be a part of history as the Artemis 2 heads up to space in April. So maybe something fun to do on New Year's Day.
And you and I were talking about going into space and whether or not we would do it.
And I think this is our way,
this
Eugene.
Is the way.
This is the way.
Honestly, it's the only way. Even if they offered me the chance, you will not find me like when Katy Perry and Gail, all of them went into, no indeed.
I would do that. They were barely in space.
Barely in space is still way higher than what I intended.
Well, yeah, it was high up, but they were barely. They scraped the surface, sat there for 4 minutes, and came back. No, these people are actually going to they're going to the moon.
The next time I'm that high, or the only time I'm that high, will hopefully be in heaven. That's it for
Okay.
me. That's it for me.
Praise the Lord.
I can't. Said the saints. All right. Okay, Taylor. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for coming in. And again, please listen to her. If you're gonna be out there celebrating, we want you to have a great time. But definitely you want to stay bundled up if you're going to be outdoors for any extended period of time. And as always, we say for those who are going to be, partaking in certain drinks and facilities, to make sure that you do not drink and drive, that you have arrangements to get home. And remember, we do have the resources that have yet to be fully released in terms of that code for you to get a discount on your ride share from getting to, I believe, Virginia Beach home also. We were talking about that on the stream yesterday, and we have that information, I believe, on our website, and we'll be keeping that up once things go out. So we just want to make sure that everybody can get home safely, that you have a good time ringing in this new year, okay? So with that, it is December 30th, the day before the 31st, New Year's Eve. And there's a few things actually that have been happening within the last several hours and into yesterday, into today, that are of note. And one of which is something that did take place yesterday, but we want to make sure that you, our viewers, get a chance to see this. This is regarding that deadly shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Just yesterday, there was a very big court hearing for the man accused of shooting and killing Kirk, Tyler Robinson, 22 years old. This court hearing in Utah looked into whether or not a certain closed-door hearing, its transcript, should be released to the public. And a judge made that ruling yesterday, saying that the information in that transcript should be released to the public. Now, before we even play this and the judge can give his reason behind this ruling, the questions really revolved around, obviously, this being a huge case that has so much national attention and interest, that both sides of this legal battle wanted to ensure that nothing could compromise the case in terms of the public attention that it gets, making sure that the 22-year-old suspect gets the best chance for a fair trial. And so what you're going to be hearing over the next several minutes is the judge there in Utah detailing his reasoning as to why the transcript should be released, and then also to what extent things should be released within the transcript, what redactions should take place, et cetera, et cetera. And so we'll play that, and then after that, we'll kind of look at some of the context that he has shared and give it a little bit more context, But this is that hearing. You're going to hear it for yourself regarding this roughly 80-page transcript of that 2-hour closed-door hearing that now a court says can be made public.
Thank you, and good morning to you. Mr. Robinson, are you with us?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Robinson, good morning to you as well. All right. The court appreciates the patience of the parties while it considered issues raised by the media interveners. An appropriate classification of the transcript and audio recording from the October 24th hearing. The court has taken the necessary time to conduct a careful, independent review of the written submissions, oral arguments, and applicable legal authorities, and to thoughtfully evaluate the matters presented. In doing so, the court has remained mindful of its duty to balance competing constitutional interests. Openness and transparency are foundational to our judicial system and essential to maintaining public confidence. At the same time, the public's right to access is qualified, not absolute, and may be limited when a legally sufficient justification exists. The court recognizes the substantial public interest in these proceedings and has approached its review with that interest firmly in mind. The court has independently reviewed the October 24th transcript and audio recording in its entirety in determining whether any restrictions on public access is warranted The court considered whether such limitations are necessary to protect specific constitutional interests and whether less restrictive alternatives could adequately address those concerns. The carefully limited redactions ordered are narrowly tailored and designed to protect those interests while preserving the public's ability to understand the substance, context, and significance of the proceedings. By way of context, the transcript of the October 24th hearing consists of 83 pages, 80 of which contain verbatim record of the proceedings. Each page includes 25 lines of text, and the transcript reflects just over 2 hours of the courtroom proceedings. The duration of the hearings was, of that hearing was 2 hours and 19 minutes. The closed hearing held on December 11th included detailed arguments from defense, prosecution, and counsel for the news media regarding what portions of the record should remain private and what should be made public. That hearing likewise lasted nearly 2 hours, during which time counsel addressed these issues carefully, line by line and word by word. The court acknowledges and appreciates the diligence, professionalism, and preparation demonstrated by all parties during both hearings. After full consideration of these arguments, the court determined that 246 words, approximately 1 page of the 80-page transcript, should be redacted. No other portions of the transcript were found to warrant restriction. The court further notes that the matters addressed during the October 24th hearing, including issues related to civilian clothing and shackling, are best understood when considered in their full context. The limited scope of the redactions reflect the court's effort to preserve that context to the greatest extent possible. The redacted transcript will be promptly filed on the docket by the end of today. The corresponding audio recording will require additional time to ensure that it precisely reflects the approved redactions and that no protected material is inadvertently disclosed. The court anticipates the audio recording will be available within approximately 2 weeks. This court notes the importance of the audio in addition to the transcript because hearing what was said and how it was said is equally as important as just the transcript itself. The court's sole objective in this process has been to ensure a fair, orderly, and lawful proceeding that reflects the constitutional rights of the parties while honoring the public's qualified right of access. The court notes that the standing decorum order has also been updated and directs all parties to review the order in advance of future hearings. Accordingly, the court now issues the following order regarding the classification of the transcript and audio recording of the October 24th hearing. And turning to the order itself. The state of Utah and defendant Tyler James Robinson filed a motion to classify the transcript and audio of the sealed October 24th, 2025 hearing as private. Because the press requested notice of all such motions, the court held a closure hearing on December 11th, 2025 to address the classification of the transcript and audio recording of the October 24th, 2025 hearing. Prior to that closure hearing, the parties filed a joint status report identifying some 20 provisions of the transcript for redaction and stating that the balance of the transcript may be classified as public. Having reviewed the relevant pleadings from the parties and representatives of the press and heard oral arguments during the December 11th closure hearing, the court now rules and orders as follows. The public has a presumptive right to access court records. See Utah Rules Judicial Administration 202.02 sub 1. That right, however, is not absolute. To support and achieve certain interests and objectives, a court may close portions or entire court record. A court may consider any relevant factor, interest, or policy, both in favor of and opposed to closure, in determining whether to redact portions of or close all or part of a court record. In deciding whether to redact or close a court record, a court must balance the interests favoring opening and closing the record, and if it determines to close the record, determine there are no reasonable alternatives to closure. The parties have argued, and the court has considered, the following policy interests in determining the motion. 1, protecting safety interests. 2, protecting privacy interests and non-party participants. And 3, protecting the defendant's right to a fair trial. Approximately half the portions of the transcript the parties seek to redact address courtroom and courthouse security measures. Safety concerns are well recognized as justification for closure of court records. This undoubtedly includes references in the court record to specific safety measures undertaken as part of the court security plan and practices in highly publicized cases. This case generates extraordinary ongoing national and international attention, some of which is threatening in nature to the parties, their representatives, and non-party participants. The safety and well-being of all involved in this matter outweighs the interests of the public that are served by open court records. Nevertheless, and as the parties recognize, the court need not seal the entire transcript and audio of the October 24th, 2025 hearing to protect the safety interests of all those involved. Redacting selective portions of the transcript and the audio that reference security measures will serve safety interests while allowing for as much public access to the remainder of the record as possible. The court hereby orders the redaction of the portions of the transcript corresponding audio referencing security measures identified in the parties' joint status report and further pared down during the closure hearing. These include the following portions of the October 24th, 2025 hearing transcript. Page 4, line 19 through 22, following the word unshackling until the sentence begins with the word and. Page 4, line 25 until page 5, line 1, including the first sentence of the last paragraph. Page 5, line 9 through line 10, following the word proceeding and ending before the word but. Page 5, line 18 and 19, including the entirety of the bailiff's comment. Page 33, line 17 through 18, following the word courtroom until the end of the sentence. Page 34, lines 5 through 7, following the word arrested until the end of that sentence. Page 35, lines 24 through 25, including the last sentence of that page. Page 36, line 1, including the first word on the page until the sentence begins with the word that's. Page 40, line 12 through line 16, following the word outside until the word maybe. Page 41, line 17 through line 21, following the word on until the end of the paragraph. Page 43, line 11 through line 13, following the word jail and ending before the sentence begins with the word and. Page 55, lines 12 through 13, following the word people and ending before the sentence beginning with the word so. Page 64, line 18 through 19, following the word been until the end of that paragraph. And finally, page 70, lines 1 through 3, following the word clothing until the sentence begins with the word I'm. Protecting personal privacy is a recognizable justification for closure of a court record. To justify the closure of a court record, a privacy interest must be more than a desire to avoid annoyance, criticism, or embarrassment, and must serve to protect information of a highly personal nature. The parties initially identified 6 portions of the transcript to be redacted based off privacy interests. During the closure hearing, the parties withdrew defendants' requested numbers 1, 2, and 11. The remaining 3 requests were significantly pared down. The court has already ordered the redaction of request 3 for security reasons, including page 34, lines 5 through 7, as ordered above. The court also finds that privacy interests support this redaction. The court has considered the interests favoring closure of the remaining 2 requests for redaction and concludes that the information is not of a highly personal or sensitive nature. Privacy interests do not outweigh the public's interest in this case. Therefore, the court denies redactions of the following portions of the transcript: page 35, lines 16 through 17, and page 80, lines 22 through 25. The right to a fair trial seeks to ensure that the one accused of a crime will have his guilt or innocence determined solely on the basis of the evidence introduced at trial. Thus, if disclosure of information poses significant risk of endangering a defendant's right to a fair trial, then closing or sealing a court record to protect that information is justified. Nevertheless, when such information has already been introduced to the public arena, there is a suggestion that no additional damage can be done, and the issue of sealing or closing the record becomes moot. Here, the Joint Status Report identified 4 portions of the transcript for redaction, based on the argument that redaction is necessary to preserve defendants' right to a fair trial. The court is unconvinced that the disclosure of the selected portions jeopardizes that right. The information in question is contained in the charging instrument, whether directly or indirectly, as part of the factual allegations made against defendant and already part of the public arena. If this information poses a risk of violating defendant's right to a fair trial, defendant's first line of defense is found in the rules of evidence and criminal procedure. Closing or redacting these portions of the transcript in audio is outweighed by the interests and the objectives served by open court records and mooted by prior disclosures in the information. Therefore, the court denies the request to redact the following portions of the transcript in audio: page 55, lines 2 through 7, page 60, lines 24 and 25, page 61, lines 1 through 6 and 13 through 14, page 64, lines 11 through 17. These portions also refer to a potential non-party witness. The court has considered redaction to protect the non-party participant from risk of retaliatory physical or mental harm. However, the reference is made to that non-party participant during the October 24th, 2025 hearing offers the same but no additional information that can be found in the charging instrument and shared by law enforcement during a press conference. As a result, redacting those portions at this point is a moot issue. For the above reasons, the court orders the following: a transcript of the October 24th, 2025 hearing shall be redacted in accordance with this order and entered into the record, and the audio recording of the October 24th, 2025 hearing shall be unsealed for the purposes of the court clerk identifying the timestamps corresponding to the redacted portions of the transcript, which selected portions, once identified, shall be resealed. No copy of the unsealed audio shall be provided until the identified portions have been resealed. The court will sign this order today, and it will go into the record. Now, turning to the second issue. And the court now issues the following order regarding the media's request to intervene. Two groups of media outlets seek to intervene in this matter. Only the state and the defendant, however, are actual parties to a criminal action. The press need not be a party to a criminal action to pursue the public's presumptive right to access public court records. The press has already been provided with a mechanism through Rule 4-202.04 to protect that right and has already utilized it in this matter. For this reason, the court denies both requests to intervene. The court now reiterates and clarifies its order requiring parties to serve all closure or reclassification motions on the media dated November 10th, 2025, as follows. Again, the parties are ordered to serve all closure motions on members of the press who have requested notice. The parties must file proof of service with the court. A closure motion is any motion to classify or reclassify presumptively public court record under Rule 4-202.02 as any other classification. The parties need not serve notice on members of the press court records that are presumptively not public. A court record means a record that is prepared, owned, received, or retained by this court. This includes hearings. Therefore, the parties are ordered to serve all motions to closure hearings on members of the press who have requested notice. The parties must likewise file proof of service with the court. Nonetheless, the parties are not required to serve notice on members of the press of motions to limit electronic media coverage. If members of the media intend to object to a closure motion and request a closure hearing, such objections and requests must be filed within 7 days of receiving notice. To promote judicial economy and to eliminate unnecessary hearings, the court may decline to hold a closure hearing if no hearing is requested. The foregoing should be treated by the parties as a standing order for the duration of this case. And that concludes the second order of this case. The court wishes all parties a peaceful holiday season and hopes that each of you is able, to the extent possible, to spend time with your loved ones. The next hearing is set for January 16th at 1 p.m. And Mr. Robinson, I will see you there at that time. Court is now in recess.
So there you have it. You can listen to the judge in his own words detailing what he wants to see when it comes to what can be allowed out of that private closed-door hearing of Tyler Robinson and investigators as prosecutors and the defense were trying to figure out what's the best way to present this case and the evidence that has such a widespread public interest that it does not jeopardize that case. Again, the judge in that ruling saying that 2-hour-long hearing, the transcript of it can be released, and also the potential of redacted audio recordings of the hearing can be released within the next 2 weeks. And so that's a really big thing when it comes to what access even viewers will be able to have and some of the information that you're receiving and recording to this case, because the judge looking at that, kind of going along with some of the attorneys and saying that the public interest of this shouldn't carry a weight in the judge's decision. The judge obviously noting that this is a big case, widely publicized case, and it'll be interesting moving forward to see how all of this now unfolds, as we'll get a clearer picture of how the court proceedings go in terms of reporting, and then for those who are wanting to follow, obviously, this case out of Utah. Remember that Tyler Robinson faces multiple charges in the killing of Charlie Kirk, and the prosecutors are now looking for the death penalty in that case against a 22-year-old for that shooting that took place back in September. We're going to continue to follow that. Obviously, it is a huge case. And you heard there that Tyler Robinson was available virtually in that hearing as well, and made his presence known when called for the judge. And it's unclear, though, how long this case will take in terms of reaching a conclusion. Sometimes we see cases take, quite a while. We'll see how quickly this one moves because, again, of not only the public interest, but even when you're looking at elected officials and everyone, there's just a sense of really trying to get this case moving with, at the same time, you want it to be obviously properly done and give Robinson the ability to have a fair trial. So we'll see how all of that goes moving forward, but we wanted to play that for you and let you see it for yourself. Okay, we're going to go to another big story that's coming out of North Carolina at this moment. Now, we're going to bring in our sports reporter, Connor Reel, to talk sports reporter Connor Reel, who is here to talk about tragedy striking the NASCAR community again. This time it is NASCAR great Denny Hamlin. His father has died after a fire at their family home in North Carolina. His mother also hospitalized. You're looking at images there from Gaston County, which is not far from the Charlotte area of that fire that took place yesterday, and fire officials able to get there on the scene. There were 2 people outdoors in which had to be hospitalized as well. But the big news out of that is that the father of NASCAR racer Denny Hamlin has died. His mother is in the hospital after just these devastating images you can see here of that fire. So let's go ahead and bring in Connor now. And Connor, first let's talk about the NASCAR community. I mean, this is coming on the heels of just 2 weeks ago of another NASCAR great dying in a plane crash there in North Carolina. Yeah. And now you have this. I mean, it has to be a very difficult time for those who follow the sport, and particularly these families.
Yeah, and when we look at any of these sports leagues, NASCAR or NFL, NBA, MLB, these guys really, and their families, and everyone associated with them, from coaches to trainers, in NASCAR's case, people who work on cars, they really become sort of a family. It's a very familial atmosphere because it is large groups of people who are all going through the same things and dealing with the same things and pursuing the same dreams, and they're around each other all the time, especially in NASCAR, where it's they travel from city to city, and they travel from city to city together. The entire circuit travels together all around the country throughout their season, and they are in each city for weekends at a time. If you've ever been to a NASCAR race, you know that they all set up right next to each other. All the garages are around each other, all the trailers are around each other, and so everyone involved with the sport spends a ton of time with each other and obviously have similar interests, and their families get to know each other, as we said. And so it's devastating for the entire sport and for everyone involved, and for someone like Denny Hamlin, who has been a really prominent figure in NASCAR, a leader in NASCAR in a lot of ways for such a long time, someone who has been a driver and has moved into positions of leadership, positions of ownership of teams, and you just have to imagine that he has endless relationships in the NASCAR community, and so to see something like this happen for Denny, for the Hamlin family, for all of their friends and loved ones, and then for everyone involved with the sport of NASCAR who has crossed paths with Denny Hamlin, worked closely with him, traveled closely with him. It's a tragedy. And you talk about this happening right after Christmas, right before New Year's. a time of celebration, the holidays here in the United States, and it's hard to imagine how difficult this is for the family and the friends and the NASCAR community. And all of those people become very, very tight-knit. So this is obviously an incredibly difficult piece of news coming out yesterday, Sunday night. The fire took place yesterday. We received news of Denny's father, and Dennis Hamlin, 75 years old, did pass away. Rest in peace to Dennis Hamlin. And then Mary Lou Hamlin, 69 years old, Dennis's wife, Denny's mother, is in critical condition. So it is an incredibly difficult situation to even sort of try to fathom, try to reconcile, right? We sit up here and we talk for a living. This is what we do. We work through these stories, we report on them, we talk about them, we bring in other people to break them down. But it's something where there are really no words to sort of convey this level of devastation, of personal devastation that has happened in regards to the Hamlin family and to the NASCAR family. So as you said, and then it comes on the heels of another tragedy. And we talk about how that tragedy occurred in North Carolina. And Denny Hamlin, his parents lived in North Carolina. He is a very prominent figure in the Virginia, North Carolina area. And so anyone who is involved with racing in North Carolina and is involved with even maybe some of the lower level racing communities in Virginia and North Carolina and just a part of that industry, this is something that has a very wide reach. It comes on the heels of another tragedy, and it happens during a time of year that we usually closely associate with family and with spending time with your loved ones. So it's a difficult situation all around. It's one that's hard to, kind of summarize in a meaningful way.
Yeah, and right now there's no determined cause of the fire as well. And you mentioned both of his parents, and by name, Dennis and Mary Lou. They were able to get out of the actual home, but their injuries were so severe. Mary Lou, last check for us that we've received, is still critically injured in that fire, and obviously his father passed away. I was just looking here on social media to find anything if we've heard from Denny Hamlin, and so far I have not seen any response from him. But it is interesting. We're talking about, just 2 weeks ago we were talking and sitting here reporting on the tragic death of Greg Biffle. In that crash with he and his family and other members, right? And Greg Biffle in his own was basically in queue to be in the NASCAR Hall of Fame, one of the great names in the sport as well. And I was looking at Denny Hamlin's Twitter page, and one of his last social media posts that he has made public is his tribute to Greg Biffle. And when he, this was on the 18th, right? So about 2 weeks ago, saying that today motorsports, the world lost one of its fiercest competitors and kindest souls, saying Greg Biffle was a champion on the track and a humanitarian off of it, whose impact reached far beyond racing. And then he extended his condolences to his family, his wife, his children, and to the others who were involved in that. And so you get that sense, as you were saying, North Carolina, both of them North Carolina guys, obviously super connected within the sport, big names within the sport. But we talked about it even a few weeks ago, like the NASCAR community they're not unfamiliar when it comes to tragedy. And we were talking about it then when it came to plane crashes and aerial crashes, but definitely this time of year. This is just, it's devastating. And it'll be interesting to see what maybe caused it as well. Looking at some of the reporting from our sister station there in Charlotte, WCNC, they talked to neighbors, and they said they do have an issue with not having enough fire hydrants in that particular area of the community. Apparently it's a little bit more rural according to the reporting that I'm seeing. But I mean, it took them 2 hours to knock that fire out. So it was a big one.
And you showed those images right before we kind of came on here, and those are my first time. That's the first time I've actually seen those images, and that's, it's completely engulfed in flames just looking at that right here. And you can see crews working to put that out. And did you just say 2 hours?
Yeah.
It took, I mean, that just goes to show the level of this, of this tragedy and the level of this kind of.
And because of a lack of water in the area.
Right.
So,
And so,
that's what is being cited. It took 2 hours because of a lack of water in the area.
And when you hear, when you mention that neighbors have said that this is a problem that maybe already existed and that had already been mentioned, anytime in a situation like this that you hear even an inkling that this could have been prevented, that something could have been done prior to the incident to maybe keep it from happening, it's even more devastating. It hits you, even harder, because to think that this is something that maybe could have been prevented. But again, we don't know. There's more reporting to come out around the circumstances of the incident itself. So I'm sure it's something that we will learn more about as we go. For now, there's nothing more you can do than just keep all your feelings with, as you said, the NASCAR family and the Hamlin family especially. And, I want to maybe dive into just reading a little bit about this incident has actually illuminated some things for me about Denny Hamlin and his relationship to his father, Dennis Hamlin. Covering sports here, Scott Cash, our old sports director, and Brian Smith, our old sports anchor, both right when I started impressed upon me, one, the importance of NASCAR in this area and the significance of that sport in this area. And then even beyond that, the role that Denny Hamlin plays in local NASCAR, Virginia and North Carolina NASCAR, because he is someone he was born in Tampa, Florida, but he moved to Richmond, Virginia when he was 2 years old. And so he grew up in the Commonwealth. Obviously, his parents lived in North Carolina. So he is someone who became one of the best drivers in a sport that holds a high degree of significance in this area, and he grew up in this area. So all of that kind of comes together to really make Denny Hamlin an especially significant figure for Virginia and North Carolina racing fans. And if Denny Hamlin is a significant figure to those fans, then Dennis Hamlin is as well, because without Dennis Hamlin, there would be no Denny Hamlin. I'm just going to read straight off of some of the storytelling that NASCAR.com has around the Hamlin family. They say Dennis Hamlin, Denny's father, may he rest in peace, he started a family-owned race team in one of the local bays in his area to help his son pursue his dream. Now, the costs rose as Denny climbed the ladder from 4-cylinder mini stocks to his eventual grassroots landing place in late model competition. You can imagine this sport requires a lot of equipment. I mean, they are driving cars. Cars are expensive. So Dennis Hamlin is trying to provide a pathway for his son to pursue his dream. And as those costs rose, the trailer business that they had, that paid the family's bills. But there was a strain and an expense on keeping the race team going that began to mount. So Dennis Hamlin took out 2 mortgages on their rancher-style house and sold 4 classic cars, including each of their personal favorites. Dennis's 1932 Ford and Mary Lou, Dennis's wife and Denny's mother's 1967 Chevy Camaro Rally Sport convertible. They sold their favorite classic cars. You can just kind of feel it in the year and the make and the model. They sold those cars to make ends meet. They took out 2 extra mortgages on their home so that Denny could pursue his dream. They obviously made as many sacrifices as they could to ensure that their son could chase what he wanted to do, what he was passionate about, what he loved. And obviously Denny was able to kind of fully realize that dream, and he certainly could not have done it without his family's sacrifices. So that just goes to speak to maybe how deep their relationship was, the love between parent and child that is so apparent when it comes to the Hamlin family. So, you read that and it's mixed emotions, because obviously we talk about it in the midst of tragedy.
Yeah.
But to hear about the love that existed in that family and support that existed in that family, it's the good that you can look back on in a situation like this.
And even more so, let's keep in mind here, we're talking about Denny Hamlin, who is top 10, by the way, in wins in NASCAR at 60. And the Associated Press actually put together a story when that happened back in the fall, just a few months ago here, talking about the relationship between Denny and his father, Dennis Hamlin. They mentioned exactly what you were saying about taking out multiple mortgages on his Virginia home just so that he can help his son be able to finance and navigate, his dream.
Yeah.
And it says specifically that and during that win, when he was able to hit 60, that they interviewed Denny Hamlin, and he started crying. And a part of it was because, and I'm just going to read here. He hasn't won a championship in this yet, but he says, Denny Hamlin, widely considered the greatest driver to never win the Cup, and goes into Phoenix Raceway a sympathetic favorite to win the championship. Dennis Hamlin, they said, will not be there because he's too sick to travel. Hamlin says his father is dying, and here's the quote that he gave at that time. He said, I know for a fact this is my last chance for my dad to see it. I don't want him going and never getting to see the moment, Hamlin told the Associated Press about his dad, who's battling a serious illness. That was back in October, on October 30th, when that conversation took place. Obviously, this is not the way in which Denny Hamlin or anyone expected for this to happen.
Right.
That's not the way in which he was, referring to it. But it is interesting, and I can't imagine the complexities of emotions that he and his family are experiencing today when you already are thinking about that when it comes to your parent, but it doesn't happen, obviously, in the way that you expect. I can't even fathom that for them, but very close. And, it's interesting that losing his father was something that was already on his mind.
It is, and his father was battling that serious illness, and it also sticks out to me that when he talked about, he's pursuing his first Cup championship, it's something that he's dedicated his entire life to, but what's on his mind is his dad and his dad's health and his dad getting to see that moment. Even beyond experiencing that moment himself, he talks about his dad getting to see that moment. It speaks to the relationship that they had, and it just kind of further illuminates how devastating this situation is, and how tough it can be. And like you said, a very strange situation that, the family had talked about how this could be some of the last maybe year or years of Dennis Hamlin's life based on the illness he was battling. But then for this tragedy to strike, like you said, there's no way to know what that feels like other than that it is a devastating time for the Hamlin family.
And Sarah, can you play that video of the two of them? Okay, I want to read this quote, okay? And this, again, is after that race in October. They talked to him, and this is what he told reporters. He said of his dad, he was just so happy. He always tells me I'm the best, no matter if I win or not. He always says I'm the best. He's a big hype guy. And I sat in his garage and talked with him. And this is where I wanted to bring up that photo that I think was at the top of this particular VO. He says, he's got all my old memorabilia. And it's just good to reminisce. He's a reminiscent guy. And right now I'm just cherishing those hours that I have with him each week. And that was as he was going to North Carolina to celebrate with his father in person. He talks about that memorabilia. Fire officials did say that they were able to salvage a lot of the memorabilia that was in that home for the Hamlin family, which is incredible when you look at how bad that fire was. But they were able to save and salvage some of those memories for them that were held there in North Carolina. But we do always say, I'm sure if they could trade one or the other, I don't think it'd be a difficult choice for them. But
yeah, and it's nice, when you
tough.
read that quote too, it's so many of us are moving so fast in life. Right. And a professional athlete, very few more so than a professional athlete, with the number of things they have to do and the competitive mindset that they have to have. It's so difficult to exist in any one moment.
Everything about a NASCAR driver is fast.
Right. And so to know that he was able to, because of really unfortunate circumstances, but to know that he was able to sit in some of those moments with his father and cherish those moments and make sure that he enjoys each other's presence and really soaks in some of the time that they had together. It is, at least we get to hear that while parsing through some of this just really, really terrible news that we have here. And you see in some of the clips that Sarah has played here, you're seeing Denny Hamlin sitting across from Michael Jordan in some of these clips. Denny Hamlin co-owns a racing team with Michael Jordan, 2311 Racing. 23 Michael Jordan's number, 11 is Denny's number. They co-own that team together. He is very close partners with Michael Jordan. You see these clips here, and that team, as one, brought an antitrust lawsuit against NASCAR earlier this year that was seen as a major court case that was going to try and break up some of what they described as monopolistic practices in NASCAR. It's something that they ended up settling out of court not long ago. We reported on it on Live Impact News. But it goes to speak to, again, what we kind of started off with at the top of the show, is the leadership position that Denny Hamlin holds in NASCAR, the influence that he has in the sport. Not only is he one of the great drivers in the sport right now, but he also is an owner of a big-time NASCAR team, a co-owner with Michael Jordan, one of the most significant figures in American culture. I mean, he is an incredibly prominent figure, and, you know, to see all of this happen, knowing how many lives he's probably touched, and through that, how many lives his dad has probably touched. It's just, you know, it's a tough day.
And just hearing you say that, I don't know how close in terms of a personal relationship Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin may have. You know, it could be strictly professional, you know, two North Carolina, you know, guys in that moment. But if they do talk, I would imagine that even Michael Jordan would have some things to say about losing a father in a way that was outside of natural causes.
I didn't even make that. That's a great point.
Yeah.
I did not even make that connection. Michael Jordan lost his father at an early age. I did not even make that connection, and hopefully there is, whether it's that relationship or others in his life, there's places that he can turn to kind of find that mourning and find that advice and find that solace to deal with this situation. As you said, a difficult day in NASCAR, a difficult month in NASCAR.
And I can't remember when the first, I think the series, the first races for the upcoming season, they kick off fairly soon in the new year also. I remember we were mentioning it when it came to the tragedy with the Biffle family. And so I can't imagine, you know, there's going to be some tribute, obviously, for Greg Biffle, and I wonder what the support now looks like for Denny Hamlin in honor of his father. I just, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say that I have been a major, you know, NASCAR fan all of my life and those things, but there are names that you know regardless of whether or not you follow the sport closely. But one thing I can tell you from all of my friends and colleagues who are very big into NASCAR races, huge sport, they're close, you know what I mean? And so the support runs deep. And so I would imagine there's going to be some level of support that's going to be poured out for this family as they're dealing with this grief. And we got to remember by our last reporting that, again, his mother still in the hospital, critically injured. And so we're hoping that the news of that, you know, can flip to, you know, she's doing well and survives all of this also, that he's not in a situation where, heaven forbid, you know, both parents in this moment. So just tough for that family. Definitely keeping them in thoughts and prayers. I'm sure many people are there in North Carolina, will continue to pour in across the country.
And he has, you know, thoughts with Mary Lou Hamlin. So all support, anything, prayers with Mary Lou Hamlin and her family in hopes that she is able to make a recovery. It's something that we'll obviously be, you know, following as closely as we can here on Live Impact. And Denny Hamlin has run at Langley Speedway multiple times. Often it's somewhere where he got his start. It's somewhere where he will come back to frequently. I mean, he is, you know, a figure in Hampton Roads racing as well. And so, you know, someone who close to home here, not just in North Carolina, but in Hampton Roads and sort of in our 757 area. So, all the support that we have, obviously there's only so much you can do, but definitely goes out to the Hamlin family and to the entire community of NASCAR. And again, it's if you're on an NBA team, you travel into a city, you play against that team, and then your team leaves and goes to another city.
These guys, they travel together.
They all are together,
Yeah.
moving throughout the country together. Think about how much time that is. How many
spend-
times you just pass someone,
Yeah.
and you exchange a pleasantry, or you meet someone's spouse or mother or father or children. It really does have a familial atmosphere at times. So, everything that we can do to support that sport and that family is helpful.
And I wonder if we can look it up. I don't know if you would know. I definitely don't know offhand when the next race or event will take place at Langley Speedway. I wonder when that will take place.
It's a good question. I know that NASCAR ended its season in October. I personally was at an event where Denny Hamlin was there in 2018. In terms of the Langley schedule, I'm not sure what it is right now, but if there was ever an opportunity to get out there and see Denny Hamlin participate in any events they have out there, obviously that's something that we would sort of keep everyone posted on from our sports department and our news department as well. Let's see. They do have an event calendar here and a 2025 schedule. But I do know he was talking to some of my old bosses, Scott Cash and Brian Smith, generous with his time. Those guys have a lot to do. And as the media, we have certain asks that we know can be inconvenient, but just from any experience I had, which was mostly stories, generous with his time, willing to talk, willing to help out, willing to promote Langley and racing as a whole. So, it's a very, very difficult situation here in Hampton Roads as well. And it looks like for now I'm just seeing an awards banquet. I think the racing season has kind of ended as we go into the wintertime. Certainly when NASCAR starts up again next year, they will run the season in honor of a number of families and racing teams. So that's something that we'll certainly look forward to. And it's interesting because it is a violent sport. Not necessarily violent, but dangerous.
No, it's a dangerous sport.
It's a dangerous sport. And there's a certain level of risk that comes with that sport. And there has been tragedy on the track in the past as well. And so, again, it's a community that tight-knit, support each other, and we would think would continue to do so in these circumstances right here.
Yeah. NASCAR Communications 4 minutes ago just posted its condolences to Dennis Hamlin, saying that NASCAR extends its deepest condolences to Denny Hamlin and the entire Hamlin family. Dennis Hamlin instilled a love of racing in his son and sacrificed greatly to develop Denny into a world-class talent in the sport. We also continue to offer our thoughts and prayers to Denny's mother, Mary Lou, in hope for her recovery. That was 4 minutes ago by NASCAR on X. So, those tributes are starting to pour in. To what you've been saying, Connor, there are so many people within that community. Not only the drivers, but the families. Them all, right? You get super, super connected in all of that.
I mean, you see one of those cars pull up into its pit stop, and you just see however many people descend on that car, and half of them are getting tires, the other half are working on the engine or whatever else. I mean, these are huge teams of people that spend an entire year pushing towards one goal together. I mean, that really does create some incredible bonds and things that go beyond coworkers or friends, but family. And so, it's a dark cloud type of day, but one that hopefully everyone involved with that community will be able to help pull each other through, very specifically the Hamlin family and Denny and Mary Lou. So, we hope for the best.
I just checked with one of the morning reporters posted there from our sister station in the Charlotte area, saying as of an hour ago that Mary Lou Hamlin remains in critical condition in the hospital. And so, just looking for updates throughout the day, I'm sure, on her condition and how she's doing for this family. But that was posted just within the hour. So that's the latest that we kind of have at this time in terms of her condition. So we'll continue to check on it, I'm sure, throughout the day. And then, Connor, I'm sure you guys might have even some more that you might be able to report on during your stream from 1 until 3 o'clock.
Yeah. Hopefully positive updates, if possible, during a morning of very, very difficult updates to hear, and a morning where an entire community woke up under just a sense of immense loss. And we talk about connections to the Virginia area. Denny Hamlin, a longtime racer for the Joe Gibbs racing team. Joe Gibbs, obviously the legendary, iconic coach of the Washington Commanders, the Washington football team. And so, again, just everywhere you look, there are connections to this area and the Hamlin family. So just continues to hammer home how difficult of a day this is.
And how wide the spread is of the impact. And so if there was any doubt amongst Dennis Hamlin prior to his passing, he did make an impact not only through his son, but his own story in his sacrifice for his son as well. Okay, Connor Real, man, appreciate you. And then you guys are going to be back on the stream for Live Impact News from 1 until 3 today, correct?
We'll be back 1 to 3. I appreciate you having me on. I've never sat in this chair before.
Yeah,
a little different over here. Unfortunately, it's not for the not for very good news.
I know they typically keep us away from the whole cross streaming, multi-dimension, you and I in separate things, but we should do it more often. Yeah. Depending on all the different maybe different stories or those kind of things we can chat about. But
we'll get up here for some good news.
Yeah,
sometime soon.
Just sneak in one day and we'll do it. What are they gonna do?
Yeah.
What are they gonna do? All right, man. We appreciate you coming through.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me.
For sure.
See everybody at 1 o'clock.
Again, you can check out Connor, as you just heard him, at 1 o'clock right here on 13 News Now Plus. He's going to be taking over coverage, live coverage there from 1 until 3 with producer Nia Campbell or Sarah Calloway. Sarah's going to be there with them at that time.
It's me today.
It is you. It's all Sarah, and we love it too. We love it. And I think actually timing-wise works really well right now, because at the moment we are seeing New York City outgoing mayor Eric Adams is giving an update from a podium right now on safety for New Year's Eve and its celebrations in New York City. We'll go ahead and tap into that, hear what they have to say, as we know people from across the world are headed to Manhattan to celebrate the new year.
10th mayor of our city right here in Times Square. On his first day of the administration, Mayor Adams pledged to all New Yorkers that we would work every day to make this a safer city for them and their families. That's why for the last 4 years, public safety has been our North Star. And that pledge will continue up until the mayor's final day in office, up until 11:59 p.m. tomorrow night, his final minute in office. Tomorrow, as New Yorkers and visitors gather in this very square to ring in the new year, they will be able to celebrate with peace of mind, knowing that our administration is working around the clock to keep them safe. To say more, I'd like to introduce the man who has kept his promise to deliver a safer city for us all, the 110th mayor of the city of New York, Eric Adams.
Thanks so much, DM Levy, and really want to thank those who are behind the scene doing the job, particularly Chief of Department, Chief of Patrol, and Chief of Transit. As I walked out, I told all three of them, job well done. We look at the record number of decrease in crime in our subway system, what we've done above ground, and really the brain behind the coordination and operation of what our Chief of Operation and now Chief of Department, what he has done is just really remarkable, and we cannot thank them enough because they saved lives. And they had a real general. Commissioner Tisch led the troops into battle and led from the front. And so really a job well done for the people in the city of New York and the millions of tourists who come here every day to make sure that this city is a place that they can enjoy as they visit our city. So it's a combination of two. And every year You look here at Times Square, this is where it happens, as DM Levy stated. It's the crossroads of the entire globe. People come here to bring in the new year, and it is our job to make sure they're able to do that in a level of safety. And we cannot wait to welcome the crowds right here. Hundreds of thousands, if not 1 million people would be right where you're standing now. And we're looking forward to the ball drop as we stand on the eve of the ball drop. People will start lining up early in the day, and they're here throughout the entire day to hold their spot. And we want everyone to have a great time and spend lots of money. For those of you who are tourists here, spend money in the city of New York. You're a tourist? Spend money. And so while people are here to enjoy, it's a group effort that involve interagency communications and coordination, but I want to assure everyone maintaining a safety posture here during this celebration is something that we're focused on. I want to thank Deputy Commissioner Weiner, who's keeping her ears open and all the intelligence we need with our federal, state, and city agencies to make sure that we are proactive, not only reactive. And as we ramp up for the festivities, the NYPD, the FDNY, New York City Emergency Management, DOT, the Department of Sanitation, and Times Square Alliance will be prepared. Tom, thanks so much, man. Great partnership with you. There will be officers in and out of uniform, keeping their eyes open. We're going to do our part. We need you to do your part. If you see something, say something, and most importantly, do something. Notify one of the officers that are there. This includes officers from the Patrol Service Bureau, the Transit Bureau, the Intelligence Counterterrorism Bureau, and the Special Operations Division. We will have plainclothes K-9 teams, officers on horsebacks, on our trains, subway stations, and in helicopters and on boats. Pedestrians and vehicle closures will be in effect leading up to and during the event. Security is everyone's responsibility. Again, see something, say something, do something. And while we do not have any specific or credible threats regarding the New Year's Eve festivities in Times Square, at this time we are continually operating in a heightened threat, and please be conscious of your surroundings. While we acknowledge that the city will respect and protect people's right to protest, we will have a zero tolerance for interfering with the celebration tomorrow in Times Square or other disorderly behavior across the city. And for those coming to Times Square to watch the ball drop, we urge you to use mass transit. Chief Galata made it safe, so let's make sure we use it. And there are certain items you cannot bring into the safety zone. Large backpacks, coolers, and alcohol beverages are strictly prohibited. Find out what the restrictions are before you can come in without a problem. To the lucky ones who are going to be in the immediate vicinity, we say dress warmly so you could enjoy the moment. And I want to again thank the entire team, including Times Square Alliance and everyone else who comes to make New Yorkers safe and enjoy the festivity. And I want to just a special note, as you're aware, 2026 is the 250th anniversary of this great country. And I'm hearing that the Times Square Alliance is looking to do a second ball drop. We're excited about that. I think that this is an excellent idea. I hope the incoming administration will warmly welcome that. Anytime we can have more tourism and more money, we should look forward to it. And so as I finish my turn, I want to share with New Yorkers it has been an honor to serve and a great responsibility to look after the safety and well-being of so many New Yorkers and visitors. Thank you for this incredible honor. From patrolman to mayor, I am humbled to have served this city, and I wish everyone a healthy 2026. Jim?
Thank you, Mayor. Dress warmly, warmer than we are all dressed right now. So the hundreds of thousands of onlookers we expect to pack the square tomorrow night will be able to do so because of the thousands of city employees who will be on the clock serving their fellow New Yorkers. So I want to say thank you from everyone at the NYPD, FDNY, DSNY, DOT, CECM, and all the other city agencies sacrificing their New Year's to give so many such a wonderful experience. As the mayor said, we simply would not be able to celebrate the New Year the same way if it weren't for our brave men and women in blue. We're still one day away from the end of the quarter, the end of the year, but come tomorrow, New York's finest will have helped us bring crime down for 8 straight quarters since January 2024. To speak more about the work our police department is doing to keep you safe tomorrow night, I'd like to welcome General NYPD Commissioner Tisch to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. Tomorrow, Times Square will begin to welcome more than 1 million visitors from around the world as we say goodbye to 2025 and we usher in 2026. New Year's Eve in Times Square is one of the largest and the most complex public safety operations anywhere in the world, and one the NYPD has secured successfully for decades. For the past year, we've been working closely with the Times Square Alliance and our partners across city, state, and federal government. At this time, there are no known specific credible threats to the New Year's Eve celebration in Times Square. As always, the men and women of the NYPD will be out there keeping everyone safe. The public should expect to see thousands of NYPD officers deployed throughout Times Square and the surrounding area. That includes officers from our specialized units, including Emergency Service Unit, K-9, the Bomb Squad, heavy weapons teams, and our harbor teams. Our helicopters and our drones will also be deployed during the day to provide comprehensive coverage in real time. We will also deploy dedicated pickpocket teams, hotel response teams, and additional uniform patrols to address quality of life and public safety concerns. There will be assets that you will see and others that you will not see. The Joint Operations Center will be fully activated with all of our city, state, and federal partners, and personnel there will be actively monitoring fixed and mobile cameras. Intelligence teams will also be monitoring social media for potential threats, and response units will be deployed citywide to investigate any reports in real time. Street closures will begin early tomorrow morning and will expand throughout the day. Beginning at 4 a.m. tomorrow, 7th Avenue will close to vehicular traffic between 42nd and 48th Streets, along with side streets between 43rd and 48th Streets from 6th to 8th Avenues. At approximately 11 a.m., 7th Avenue and Broadway will close to vehicular traffic from 38th to 59th Streets. By approximately 4 p.m., 6th and 8th Avenues within the event area will close to both pedestrian and vehicle traffic, with pedestrian crossings at 41st, 44th, 47th, 50th, 54th, and 57th Streets. We strongly encourage anyone traveling to Manhattan to use public transportation tomorrow. Concrete barriers and blocker vehicles and frozen safety lanes will be established to protect the perimeter of the area. Manholes, mailboxes, and trash receptacles within the frozen zone will be either secured or removed. Viewing areas will officially open at 3 p.m. with pedestrian entry points at 45th, 49th, 52nd and 56th Streets from both 6th and 8th Avenues, and will close street by street as those pens reach capacity. Spectators should expect to be screened by counterterrorism officers at these access points, and once inside a viewing area, there will be no re-entry and they may be subject to rescreening. Spectators staying at hotels within the secured area will be required to remain within their assigned viewing pens. Certain items will not be permitted in viewing areas, including backpacks, large bags, large coolers, picnic blankets, chairs, alcohol, drones, laser pens, umbrellas, and any other large items that can obstruct a spectator's view. On behalf of the men and women of the New York City Police Department, I want to thank our partners at the Times Square Alliance, along with our colleagues across city, state, and federal agencies for their continued collaboration. And most importantly, I want to thank the women and men of the NYPD who will be working through the night to ensure that this celebration remains safe. We look forward to another secure and successful New Year's Eve in Times Square. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Finally, I want to introduce a great partner and friend of our administration over the last 4 years, the man who ensures an average of 80 million visitors can enjoy Times Square every year, and that millions around the globe can enjoy the ball drop on television, the president of the Times Square Alliance, Tom Harris.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor, Commissioner Tisch, Mayor Adams. Tomorrow night, the world will turn to Times Square, and there is no one who can do an event better than the men and women of the New York City Police Department who work tirelessly throughout the year to keep Times Square safe. I want to take this opportunity to thank Mayor Adams. 4 years ago, when the mayor took office, crime was 20% higher than it is today. There's a 20% reduction in crime. 250 plus new businesses have opened up. All 13 of our unlicensed weed stores have been closed down by this administration. People are moving to Times Square. They actually want to live here thanks to the city that he has created. The hotels are doing great. Broadway has never been better. And people listen to him and spent money. Visa spending has never been higher. So thank you very much, Mayor Adams. For New Year's, as we look forward to the future, we know that our city is going to do great thanks to all of the folks who care so much, thanks to the legacy of Mayor Adams. Tomorrow night is going to be a great night in Times Square where the whole world will see how fantastic this city is. Thank you very much.
Chairman, we're going to do some on-topic questions about Times Square and security. Times Square and security. Tom?
Each year around this time, we see these federal threat assessments. They come out and talk about this event and New Year's. Just wondering if there's anything you've seen for the ISIS cluster disrupted this year, or what you've seen globally that you're doing for this particular event to stop any sort of threat or attack.
Thank you. So, as the mayor mentioned, we've been existing in a heightened threat environment for the last 2.5 years, and each year our plan incorporates lessons learned from overseas, from events elsewhere. And this year you're going to have augmented personnel to fortify the perimeter around the event and to minimize crowding around access points and make sure that, as every year, this is a safe, happy, and healthy event.
How are you?
So I want to talk about the language on no credible threat, right? That's language that we adopted after 9/11, and it's been, over 20 years since then. Considering the lone wolf dynamic and whether or not if there was a credible threat, if the public would be alerted, can we talk about what weight that phrase carries now, if any, because of how the terrorist threat has really evolved since that language was adopted after 9/11?
Well, we saw, and I'm going to let the commissioner or the deputy commissioner speak, and you drop your gloves. We saw several years ago, we had a lone wolf with a machete that attacked police officers, and I thought that the way the officers deployed, they maintained their postures on the locations where they were supposed to be, and at the same time, we got necessary personnel there to bring this person under control without additional injuries or loss of life. So we know there's a constant evolution without the known threats. We are well aware that we have to remain vigilant, and that's what these officers, they know what needs to be done. But Commissioner Rebecca, you want to?
Yeah. So we get threats and leads into our intelligence center all the time. And so what that phrase means is that we do not have right now any specific credible threats against Times Square New Year's Eve celebration this year.
But I guess the question was, I'm sorry.
Yeah, how are you?
You're in technology.
the commissioner alluded to some of it. Don't underestimate the power of drones. And this administration, we have really incorporated drones into our public safety apparatus on so many levels. But being able to police on the ground and in the sky is just an amazing contribution. And there's some other technology that, we just don't want to tip our hands, but we're using technology to keep New Yorkers safe, and I think it's going to continue to evolve.
Just to follow up, you started it all, you started your administration here.
Yes.
How does it feel to be back here?
Great. When I started it 4 years ago, no one knew of this woman named Dorothy Mae Adams that raised the mayor of the city of New York. And being able to hold my mother's picture up so the entire globe can see that mothers across the globe sacrifice so much. And so mommy is not the mayor, but she made a mayor. And so it feels good, full circle. And listen, it has been a blast. I'm looking forward to a single malt scotch and a cigar.
Can you talk about the specific numbers? Are there any addition this year in terms of police officers and all the?
Yeah, our detail this year for the Times Square New Year's Eve celebration is bigger than last year's, and you're going to see more officers in two main places. First is at the access points to the event on 6th and 8th Avenue, so we can expedite entry or exit from the bow tie area. And the second is we are going to be doing secondary screening this year of people inside pens. So we will have mobile screening teams walking around the pens, and if we see anything that looks suspicious, we will have teams in place to do appropriate screening. That's a new addition this year as well. We never tell you the exact numbers, but rest assured, the entirety of the New York City Police Department is going to be working between December 31st and January 1st. This is the biggest event of the year.
CBS News. Can you give us some context for that additional screening? Has that additional screening been done in recent years? Why now?
No, the secondary screening is something that is net new this year, and it is based on, we study what goes on around the world, so it's based on what we've learned over the past year and what we've seen throughout the world in the terrorism space.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner Weiner, I just want to
Okay, so you're listening there. You just heard from officials, including outgoing Mayor Eric Adams in New York City, on how they plan to keep the city safe for New Year's Eve. Speaking about drones, if you heard him say, don't underestimate the ability of drones, which is, we know, has been widely used by many departments across the country to keep an eye on activity that could be happening in the area. You heard some of the questions there from reporters, and as we were listening to it, Sarah and I were talking here offline that, with New Year's Eve and New Year's Day coming, it does mark the year mark from the attack in New Orleans for New Year's Eve, New Year's Day celebrations there. And so I think a lot of the questioning that you heard there, you heard someone talk about, how do you make sure that you not only keep things safe, but looking into any kind of activity for like a lone wolf type of thing. And they have their strategy to keeping, all of the, I assume, millions of people who will be there in New York City for the ball drop and subsequent parties and experiences safe. And that is something that I'm sure is on the minds of law enforcement officials, city officials, county officials across the country, how to make sure that they can keep people safe for the major holiday experiences, because there's just going to be a lot of crowds and people in those areas. And so again, that was Mayor Eric Adams, who I mentioned a few times, outgoing, because his time is coming up as the mayor, basically in about 48 hours, less than maybe. The incoming mayor, Zohran Mamdani, will be sworn in there in New York City. That will take place minutes after midnight on New Year's Day. His team says that he will be sworn in at the old City Hall subway station underground, is where they will have a private location. He'll be sworn in by New York Attorney General Letitia James. His team says that that location was chosen to honor the working people who keep the city moving. And then after the private ceremony, there will be a public ceremony, a swearing in at New York City Hall, followed by, I think, some outdoor kind of parties and things that are going to take place for people there. Again, Eric Adams, his term and time as the mayor of New York will come to an end also as the ball drops here in New York City. And then later on today at 2 p.m., and this will take place during the next stream between 1 and 3, we are expected to hear from Mamdani, who will be making what they're calling a major announcement. There hasn't been, at least last time I checked here with the last few minutes, any release on what that announcement will be. But I'm sure our team, barring any other news taking place there live between that time, will likely go to that and see what is coming out of New York City as people prepare to make their way up there and there's a new change in leadership. Right now, let's talk about other news that's being made, but this from an international standpoint, although the news-making opportunity took place right here in the U.S. in Florida. We're talking about that meeting between President Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel. The two held a meeting at Mar-a-Lago, meeting together as there are a plethora of issues to discuss, particularly when we're talking about the situation in Gaza when it comes to Israel and Palestine and Gaza there. And so the two not only touched on that, but also other topics of national security and of interest. And so we were able to record their press conference between the two leaders, in which there was a lot of news that was made. We're going to listen to it with you as well. So we'll play a bit about that. And if there is something that breaks in that time span, of course, we'll come out of it. But we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to hear from the two leaders.
But I want to say something else. I think we have a partnership, if I can quote you, second to none. I think it's allowed us to do enormous things. You know, people said there was a different conception at one time, which means that America can advance its interest in the Middle East if it opens a lot of daylight between it and Israel. And President Trump has done the exact opposite. He's achieved remarkable things in the Middle East because we work together. We talk about our ideas. Sometimes we have different ideas, but we work it out. And most of the time we see eye to eye. But it's been a remarkable experience, and this was a very, very productive meeting. And may I say, a very good lunch. Thank you. Thank you for your friendship.
Thank you very much, baby.
And thank you for your support. It's meant from the heart.
Thank you. You know, as I said outside, he's been a wartime prime minister, and we were, well, look, I guess I could say I was a wartime president in more places than just Israel, if you think about it. But Israel was a big factor, and we're with you, and we'll continue to be with you. And a lot of good things are happening in the Middle East. We have peace in the Middle East, and we're going to try and keep it that way. I think we will be very successful in keeping it that way. And you've been a great friend, and I've been a great friend to you and to Israel. And it's been my honor. And the award that I was given was really surprising and very much appreciated.
Well, President Trump has broken so many conventions to the surprise of people, and then they figure out, oh, well, maybe, you know, he was right after all. So we decided to break a convention too, or create a new one, and that is to award the Israel Prize, which in almost our 80 years, we've never awarded it to a non-Israeli, and we're going to award it this year to President Trump. This was announced formally over lunch by our Minister of Education, who's responsible for the Israel Prize. It's going to be awarded to President Donald J. Trump for his tremendous contributions to Israel and the Jewish people. I think it's such a fitting thing, and it would honor us, obviously, Mr. President, if you could visit Israel in that occasion on our Independence Day. But I have to say that this reflects the overwhelming sentiment of Israelis across the spectrum, they appreciate what you've done to help Israel and to help our common battle against the terrorists and those who would destroy our civilization. So, again, that's an expression of thanks and appreciation.
Thank you, baby, very much. That really is a great honor. Any questions, please? We'll go pretty quickly because pretty much we agree on most of the things, and you would know what most of those things are. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to know if you and the Prime Minister talked about having Israel pull back its troops before Hamas fully disarms. I know that's been an issue. Did you push for that today?
Well, we talked about Hamas and we talked about disarmament, and they're going to be given a very short period of time to disarm, and we'll see how that works out. Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be in charge of that from our side, but if they don't disarm, as they agreed to do, they agreed to it, and then they'll be held to pay for them. And we don't want that. We're not looking for that. But they have to disarm within a fairly short period of time.
Was Israel withdrawing its forces?
Well, that's a separate subject. We'll talk about that.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Mr. President, did you have a message for the Prime Minister about the West Bank? And are you at all concerned that settler violence, Israeli settler violence, could be undermining the peace plan?
Well, we have had a discussion, big discussion, for a long time on the West Bank. And I wouldn't say we agree on the West Bank 100%, but we will come to a conclusion on the West Bank.
If I could ask, what is the disagreement?
Well, I don't want to do that. It'll be announced at an appropriate time. But he will do the right thing. I know that. I know him very well. He will do the right thing. Yes?
There is a growing fear of a confrontation between Israel and Turkey. How are you going to ease this tension given the fact that President Erdogan calls Mr. Netanyahu Hitler and compares Israel to the Nazis?
Well, I know President Erdogan very well, and as you all know, he's a very good friend of mine. And I believe that, and I do respect him, and Bibi respects him, and they're not going to have a problem. They're not going to have a problem. I know him very well. And you've seen me do things with President Erdogan and Turkey that nobody else could have done. We're not going to have a problem. He's done a fantastic job. I'm with him all the way. I'm with Bibi all the way. Nothing's going to happen. Yes.
Mr. President, are you concerned that Israel is not moving quickly enough to phase 2 of the peace plan?
Well, I'm not concerned about anything that Israel's doing. I'm concerned about what other people are doing or maybe aren't doing. But I'm not concerned. They've lived up to the plan. They're strong. They're solid. And sometimes they don't understand when somebody violates something that you want to give them a second chance. Well, we'll give them a couple of second chances. But no, Israel's lived up to the plan 100%. Don't forget, we made the plan possible by taking out Iran. And speaking of Iran, I hope they're not trying to build up again, because if they are, we're going to have no choice but very quickly to eradicate that buildup. So I hope Iran is not trying to build up, as I've been reading that they're building up weapons and other things. And if they are, they're not using the sites that we obliterated, but they're using possibly different sites. We know exactly where they're going, what they're doing, and I hope they're not doing it because we don't want to waste the fuel on a B-2. It's a 37-hour trip both ways. I don't want to waste a lot of fuel. Okay?
Mr. President Trump, just after your last remarks regarding the pardon request of Prime Minister Netanyahu, Herzog office told us that you have not talked after the official request of Prime Minister Netanyahu pardon. Can you clarify to us, did you talk
Which
about
request
it?
are you talking about?
With the President Herzog, the Israeli President Herzog. Did you talk with him directly?
President Erdogan?
Herzog. The Israeli President
so you're talking about pardon?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you got to say that. No, I think he's going to be in great shape. He's a wartime prime minister at the highest level. He's achieved tremendous success. And I'll say it, if you had 8 out of 10 prime ministers in his position right now, or before right now, maybe, you wouldn't have Israel any longer. Israel would not exist. I'd say two of them would, and 8 of them wouldn't. Those are not good odds. You needed a very special man to really carry through and really help Israel through this horrible jam. These are major factions, and it started with our negotiation with Iran. I think it probably started with Soleimani. That was really where you mentioned that today, which started with Soleimani. Bad guy, doing bad things, hurting a lot of people, killing American soldiers and other soldiers. But it started right there, would probably be the starting point. And then from that point forward, but you have a wartime prime minister at the highest level. There could be other wartime prime ministers, but they'd lose. He won. And I think the people of Israel appreciate it. I think a lot of the people in the world appreciate it, actually. And because of that victory, we were able to get peace in the Middle East. If you had a different kind of a personality, if you had a weak person or a stupid person, and there are plenty of both of them, you would not have had success, and you might not have Israel. And you report for Israel. I know you're very proud of it, and you do a great job. You might not have a job because there might not be an Israel right now if you had a different prime minister. That's a big statement, but to me it's a very simple statement to make. I'm looking at Pete Hegseth, and he's sort of nodding. If they don't have a strong prime minister, Pete, you might not have Israel today. I think he'll go down in the record books. And, I was a big help. I'll be honest with you, big help. Somebody said in the room, if you don't have Trump, you needed a proper combination of everything. And if you didn't have that combination, which they had, you would not have an existing Israel right now. And the people of Israel know it. That's why they like me, and it's why they actually like him. He's got a little bit of a love-hate more than I do over there. But you know what? Even the haters have a lot of respect for him. There's a lot of jealousy about him. A lot of jealousy. Jealousy is a bad word. But I believe you would not have Israel right now. So it's a big deal. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, a recent poll showed that as many as half of Gazans would be willing to leave the Gaza Strip if afforded the opportunity to do so. Back in February, you said that all Gazans should be
I heard that number today. Half of Gaza would leave. I've always said it. I said if they were given the opportunity to live in a better climate, they would move. They're there because they sort of have to be. I think it would be a great opportunity, but let's see if that opportunity presents itself. But we're helping the people of Gaza a lot. So is Israel, by the way. So we'll see what happens. But I saw that there was a poll. It was actually more than half the people would leave if they were given the opportunity. And I've been saying that for a long time. To me, it was common sense. So it's interesting.
Why wouldn't countries accept them?
Look, let's not talk about it because we don't want the controversy. Right now, we're helping Gaza. But if they were given the opportunity, I think even higher than that, the group that did the poll is usually, I call them negative pollsters. You have a lot of them. And yet this poll was, I think, very accurate, other than it would be more than half the people if given the opportunity. But they haven't been given that opportunity. So we'll see what happens.
Mr. President, have you reached a point of understanding regarding Syria?
We do have an understanding regarding Syria. Now, with Syria, your new president, I respect him. He's a very strong guy, and that's what you need in Syria. You can't put a choir boy. You can't put somebody that's a perfect person. Everything's nice, no problems in life. You have the opposite there. He's a strong guy. We get along with him great. I can't ask for any more. He's been with us all the way. We had that mishap with ISIS, and he was with us all the way. He was fighting us. He was fighting them. So I hope Israel. I'm sure that Israel and him will get along. I will try and make it so that they do get along.
Mr. President,
I think they will. Bibi, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, well, our interest is to have a peaceful border with Syria. Our interest is to have, and we openly say it, we want to make sure that the border area right next to our border is safe. We don't have terrorists, we don't have attacks, and we also want to secure our Druze friends. And by the way, I think not only the Druze, but other minorities, especially the Christians, should be protected as well in Syria and throughout the Middle East and in Nigeria. In your efforts, we back completely because Christian communities are beleaguered around the world and especially in the Middle East, but in parts of Africa too. And we stand for the same thing.
And don't forget, it was President Erdogan that helped very much get rid of a very bad ruler of Syria. That was President Erdogan. And he never wanted the credit for it, but he really gets a lot of credit. Bibi agrees with that. I agree with I know it. And President Erdogan should get a lot of good credit for what he did. He got rid of some very bad people. And, they've been wanting to do that for 1,000 years with different names, but for 1,000 years in Syria. President Erdogan did it, and we give him a lot of credit. I give him a lot of credit. But I think it's going to work out well between Syria and Israel.
Mr. President, about Lebanon.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
The Lebanese government, so what we saw, is not meeting the terms of the ceasefire agreement, has failed to disarm Hezbollah, actually. In your view, should Israel strike the terrorist organization again?
Well, we're going to see about that. We'll see about it. The Lebanese government is at a little bit of a disadvantage, if you think of it, with Hezbollah. But Hezbollah has been behaving badly, so we'll see what happens.
Mr. President, on China.
How close are we to another operation of Israel in Iran? You said before the meeting with Netanyahu that you are in support of Israel if the ballistic missile project will take on, and also the nuclear weapon. But after the meeting, after what you know from the intelligence, how close are we to another war with Iran?
Well, I don't want to say that, but Iran may be behaving badly. It hasn't been confirmed. But if it's confirmed, look, they know the consequences. Consequences will be very powerful, maybe more powerful than the last time. Yeah. And Iran should have made a deal the last time. I gave them the option. I said, you can make a deal. Do it. I told them, do it. And they didn't believe me. Now they believe me.
Do you have evidence that Iran is behaving badly, and what do you mean by that?
This is just what we hear. But usually... where there's smoke, there's fire. Have you heard the expression?
Well, what do you mean related to the nuclear capabilities?
Well, no, I'm hearing that they're not nuclear yet, but maybe nuclear too. The sites were obliterated, but they're looking at other sites. That's what I've heard. They're looking.
Intelligence
So it'll take a long time. They're not going to go back to where they were, but they have other places they can go. And if they're doing that, they're making a big mistake. Yeah, please. There's no reason for them to do it.
Mr. President, is the United States currently open to engaging in bilateral discussions with Tehran? We're hearing reports from numerous countries that there may be some discussions. Is that something you would support, or something that is happening?
I would.
You
Sure.
would support that?
I would, yes.
Right now. Thank you, sir.
I have been, by the way, before the war, I would support that. I said to him, baby, I said, let's negotiate. And they didn't believe what was going to happen would happen.
Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
President, on China, so China's been doing naval exercises basically to test encircling Taiwan. Can you explain to us what your knowledge is of that? What do you think about that? Have you had any discussions with China
Well, I have a
about
great
that?
relationship with President Xi, and he hasn't told me anything about it. I certainly have seen it, but he hasn't told me anything about it, and I don't believe he's going to be doing it.
Does it worry you?
No, nothing worries me.
But
nothing.
you said where there's smoke, there's fire, right? So if
Yeah.
you're if you're doing naval exercises and air
Well,
exercises,
they've been doing naval exercises for 20 years in that area. Now people take it a little bit differently, but in fact larger than they're doing right now. So we'll see. But they've been doing that for 20, 25 years. Yeah.
Mr. President, if you don't see Hamas disarm in that short amount of time that you're giving them, can you tell us what the next steps would
It'll be horrible for them. Horrible.
Okay.
It's going to be really, really bad for them. And I don't want that to happen. But they made an agreement that they were going to disarm. And you couldn't blame Israel. By the way, we have other countries that will come in and do it. They said, let us do it for you if they don't. Countries that were with them wanted the deal to be made, agreed that they would disarm, and now if they say they're going to disarm, that's fine. If they say they're not going to disarm, those same countries will go and wipe them out. They don't even need Israel. You know, we have many countries, 59 countries that are in agreement. This is a real peace in the Middle East. And Hamas is a small part of it, but it's still a part of it. But we have 59 countries that signed on, big countries, countries that are outside of the Middle East, as you know the Middle East. They want to go in and wipe out Hamas. They don't want Israel. They don't need Israel. They want to do it because it's the right thing to do. Because they were for the deal based on the fact that Hamas pledged, they swore that they were going to disarm. Now, if they're not going to disarm, those same countries will wipe out Hamas. Yeah.
President Trump, do you think that the PA should be involved the day after in Gaza Strip, even in the near future? And the same question to Prime Minister Netanyahu. Do you see a real opportunity that the PA will be in Gaza?
Go ahead, Bibi.
I think President Trump put clearly the conditions of reform that he wants to see in the PA for them to be involved. And I think he put it very clearly what he wants to see, the kind of real reforms, not just perfunctory reforms, but real reforms. Stop pay to slay, change the curriculum in your textbooks, open up a different society and a different future if
So
they
it's
do
not
it.
in the near future?
Well, let them, I think it was clear. He put
Pretty clear.
He put guidelines that were, by the way, in the Trump plan of 2020. And they were put then in the 20 points. And it's up to them.
Remember this, if we didn't do what we did to Iran, just to make the subject just slightly different, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. You wouldn't have a deal signed in the Middle East. You wouldn't have a deal. Because other Arab nations, which are great people, I know them very well, they're great people, they wouldn't be able to have agreed to peace in the Middle East because you would have had a dark cloud hanging over everything. It wouldn't have been possible. So Iran has been greatly reduced in power, prestige. I don't want to use the word humiliation because, they're trying to build up again. But we can't let them build up because if they build up, there can't be peace in the Middle East. It was a mistake. When they wiped out Iraq and Iran were about the same power. And they fought each other with different names for 1,000 years. And then our country came out and blew up one of those two countries, namely Iraq. And all of a sudden, Iran had the whole Middle East all to itself. But that's not true anymore. That's not true anymore.
Can you tell us something about your
Say
plan?
it.
Tell us something about your plan to expand Abraham Accords. If you can tell us something about your plan to expand Abraham Accords.
Well, the Abraham Accords are a great achievement of Jared and everybody. I mean, it was one of the great achievements. They'll be expanded. Countries are already talking about expanding it, and they'll be expanded fairly quickly. Yeah, please.
What about Saudi Arabia? Is it still on the table? The normalization?
Saudi Arabia is great. We have a great leader and a friend of mine and a friend of a lot of people. Also an enemy of some people, but those people aren't doing so well. No, Saudi Arabia has been very good as far as I'm concerned. They've done everything that we can ask for.
But normalization with Israel is on the
They're
table?
getting along great with Israel. They will. And at some point, they'll sign the Abraham Accords.
Mr. President, on the Fed, so one of the big domestic tasks ahead of you is to pick a new chairman for the Fed.
Yeah.
You've said that you have one favorite, but you're
I
also
do.
doing interviews.
Still
so
do. Hasn't changed. Yeah, I'll announce them at the right time. There's plenty of time.
Are you? Is
But
there
in the
any
meantime,
chance?
we're doing numbers that nobody's ever seen. We have $18 trillion coming in. We had a 4.3% GDP. They thought it was going to be 2%. And that's despite the Democrat shutdown. Had the shutdown not occurred, we would have had an extra 1.25. Think of that. We are doing, and also despite the fact that we have a fool at the Federal Reserve. I mean, Biden reappointed him, and it's too bad. You would have thought he wouldn't have done that. But he's an absolute fool who's building a new Federal Reserve, or he's doing a renovation of a building. Maybe he's up to $4.1 billion to do a
Okay, we were just listening there to President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu during their press conference that they held in Mar-a-Lago, discussing a variety of matters. It is time for us, though, to wrap up here on Live Impact News. It is 11:59. Next, you'll hear Ashley Smith with 13 News Now at noon. And then remember, at 1 o'clock, between 1 and 3, you'll have Connor Brill, who will join